Malcolm Eggington.
And how old are you, Mel?
63.
63.
Oh no, sorry, 62.
62.
Yeah, nearly 60.
Nearly 60. First surfboard. What was your first surfboard?
9'4" Atlas Woods in 1965.
So did you buy that brand new or was it second hand?
Yeah, no, bought brand new. Before that, used to have to try and borrow boards off Ken Berry and Derek Bright and a few other old guys that had them already. But yeah, that was the first one.
So where did you buy it?
I bought it in Rotorua of all places.
Rotorua?
Yeah, but
well-known surf spot?
No, in actual fact, they used to build boards for the sports stores, and I'd already seen the guys at Atlas Woods, and they sent it down to the shop there, and I worked for Mel Man in the quarry out at Murupara to save the money for it. And finally had the dough, drove his Mark II Zebra into town at the age of 15, and
Bought it.
there it was. It all come down for walking, strapped it on the roof, and away we go.
So where did you start surfing, Mel?
Well, I started surfing up here, Waipu Cove, really.
Yeah.
We just started getting rides out to the beach with the surf lifesavers, and gradually meeting guys that surfed out there that had a wee bit older than us, and marvelling at these flash boards that weren't made out of wood.
So why do you think you started surfing?
Just sort of, it's an interesting one, Laurie. We just started having fun on the darn things, and it was just fascinating. And then you sort of got into the culture, and you got the magazines, and
it was something that everyone was doing, sort of thing. It was like the young thing or something. I don't know how you explain it.
Yeah, you wanted to do it, and it was easy, really. Once you got that board, those 9-foot plus boards were easy to learn on.
Yeah.
You know, when I see what the kids are trying to learn on now.
Yeah. You see, I see girls out at Sandy Bay trying to ride a 6-foot something, and you know and it probably puts more off than.
Of course it does. Like I say to these people, we were privileged. That's all we had to learn to ride on was big boards that were very forgiving.
Yeah. Tarney Surf Club. You're a member of that. Can you tell? You must. Tell us a funny story about the club or something. You know.
Tarney board riders. I remember the socials that they used to have every month. It was a very organised club. The contests were great fun, but the socials were something else. I remember the time the boys hired the old boys' hall down on the riverside there, where the big hotel is there now, and started fooling around at the back with the scrum machine, and managed to drive the scrum machine through the wall between the training area and the lounge. So that was one hall we weren't allowed to have again. Yeah, so there was a few tales like that. She was a wild time, Laurie.
Well, I can remember going to the Onerahi one, and I never realised, but the cops sort of closed that down. Can you remember anything about that?
There's some guys got into these. The aeroplanes used to be parked outside the features, and it was tally-ho chucks away, and the boys were playing in the aeroplane.
It wouldn't have been the surfers at that day. It would have been someone else.
Luckily, they never left the keys in them because they were keen to fight. Because I think one time, was it the Warrior Hall, or one of the ones out there might have been. Anyway, one of those halls, and somebody pinched and I don't know who, although I've heard names, pinched the grader and drove it into town. Obviously, so they knew how to drive a grader. I think Jeff Smith was one of those guys.
Yeah, just took off with it.
Look, I can start this thing, and away they went.
When you think about it, things haven't changed a lot some days when you open the paper, But the news wasn't around like it was. So, wetsuit or rugby jersey, what'd you surf with in the winter?
Mate, rugby jersey to begin with. Terrible. Then I managed to save up, and I can remember doing this because I was still at school, getting a top, a diver's top with the old
all between the legs thing.
The old beaver tail between your legs, and so you cut that off, and then gradually as summer got hot, you cut their sleeves off as well.
Yeah. No one really had a wetsuit.
No, it wasn't until I went overseas that we started seeing surfing suits.
Yep. Best surfboard. You've had one that's been fantastic. You probably wish you never sold it, or was the one you got now?
Yeah, well, the one I've got now is pretty good, but I think I've got a surf line there, mate. When I first switched from shortboard, 6'5", in my early 40s, to a mini Mal, an 8-footer. Roger Hall made me this thing, and the kids all laugh at me. I've still got it up on the roof. It's the best surfboard in the world, and it's just an amazing 8-foot, quite narrow, quite thin. Concave right through, but I've surfed it all over the place, Aussie, Bali, New Zealand, and I surfed that for 7 years, and finally I had to get rid of it because it just had too many dings. But yeah, that's probably my best one.
What's the stupidest thing you've ever seen out while you've been surfing? I know that we've all had silly, but you must have seen something horrendous or something stupid that stands out. What would that be? Or a couple of stories, something stupid?
Oh,
Nothing stand out?
not off the top of my head. Really? Yeah, you see some silly things out there. I remember surfing in South Africa and a container come out of the water surf in front of me. Like, I mean, a big container.
You're surfing along?
On the wave, yeah. That was, I always remember that as being pretty weird.
Yeah.
It was right in the city in Cape Town pretty much, but...
you didn't break into
it?
Now, so you left New Zealand at some stage, so you went to Aussie or where did you...
Went to Aussie for a short time, back in the 60s. I went down to Bells Beach, went to the, Bells Beach over Easter when I think it was the first Bells Beach contest. That was about 67, I think.
Yeah.
And then came back to New Zealand, and then a year or so later I went to South Africa.
Yeah.
And surfed Jeffreys Bay for a few months, stayed in Jeffreys Bay for 4 months, and by this stage I took a 5'10" board over.
Very short, very small, yeah.
5'10" short single fin, and the guy that came with me, or I met on the way, he was surfing a 5'6" twin fin, and it was those old Reno Avalera types, you know, with the straight fins that these guys think are cool now. And of course we got to Jeffreys Bay, and I mean, my little single fin sort of operated pretty good up to a certain height, but the silly little twin fin, I always remember that let Mark down really badly. But man, what waves! And you know, even in those days we had to cross over, trespass over land to get onto the main break, and it was like you'd be lucky if on the weekends it'd get pretty crowded, so you wouldn't bother. You'd go down, do something else, go fishing, or but during the week, you'd be lucky if you had 20 guys out, and it's well spread out. You know, it's like Shipwreck Bay the other way around. So you know, and there's 3 or 4 breaks that you can. So it was.
So how did you get? Did you just decide just by yourself you were going to go to South Africa?
Actually, I actually immigrated. The government subsidised me because I thought, well, why not? Might let them pay. But anyway, I had an auntie and uncle in Cape Town. So when I did, I touched base with them, and then I went up to Jeffreys, and when I came back I stayed there with a short while, and then I worked in Cape Town, flattered around Cape Town, and had a good time there, had a good job there, great surf, cold water. Full
wetsuits in?
Full wetsuits by that stage, Well, what we used to have was the old Farmer John, and then you had a long sleeved vest, so you put that on, and then you put your Farmer John.
So did you have a car in South Africa?
Yeah, in a combi in South Africa. So the first car we bought was a in Port Elizabeth. We first got was a boardboard Isabella.
Yeah.
We bought for $300, mate.
What make is it?
It was a German thing.
Oh yeah.
And
did it go alright?
We were right. We had photos of it somewhere, and we used to stash the boards on it. And away we went.
Yeah.
But then I had a combi, and we travelled all around South Africa with the combi, and through Africa, like Kenya, and.
Any scary moments, or you were pretty?
Yeah, it's a pretty tight moments when you're travelling through Africa, that's for sure. But
anything stand out that?
I can remember riding on a train in Sudan, and what we used to do, all the young guys, because it was really hot and dusty in the carriages with no windows, you sat on the roof of the train, and what would happen is you stop at these little villages, little stations in the middle of the desert, and what happened, Sudanese guys are into it, and so there's a, the cooler you were was let the train go, and then you chase the train and jump on as it's moving, so you sort of drink your cup of tea as you were sitting, or you eat your ice block if you were lucky to. Anyway, you take off after it, and one day I was going to be the coolest, and I took off, but I jumped on one of the goods vans, and what happens with the goods vans is they don't have any shock absorbers or anything, so the things rock around like this, whereas the passenger carriages don't. Oh dear, here I am, this thing that's just going like that, and I've got to get from there, jump to the next carriage, and all these guys are sitting there waiting for me to get carriage, and I said finally I had to made the jump, they grab hold of you, and
that would be pretty scary stuff.
Had a few, but I'm sure you couldn't travel through those countries like the way we did in those.
No, you'd probably get shot.
Yeah, I mean we had a combi with going out through Kenya. I had what I did is I had other people paying for the ride and took them through all the game reserves on the way out.
Yeah.
So
And that would have been a fantastic trip.
it was.
Yeah.
You never in those days, you know, you got hassled a wee bit at the border by the guards and that. You just had lots of patience. And
People make you feel welcome when you're travelling, when they know you're a Kiwi, or yeah.
Commonwealth, man, Commonwealth.
Yeah. Any, in your younger days, surf heroes, did you have any surf heroes that you wanted to surf like, or someone that really stood out?
I think, well, you always, David Nuivo used to always think he was just awesome the way he did his nose riding, and of course he was Mickey Dora.
Yeah.
You sort of loved to hate Mickey Dora, you knew he was a bad bugger, but gee, he was good to surf.
Yeah. Jack McDonald actually surfed with him in France.
Did he?
Yeah, which surprised me. Not, Dick, sorry. Favourite surf trip? Have you ever got well, it's probably your South Africa one, but anywhere else we've had a fantastic trip that's been brilliant?
I think when I went to Bali in about 2000, I was there for 3 weeks and I got surf every day for 2 days.
Yeah.
Good surf. I think that was pretty good. But one of my favourite, and I still do it, is going over to Noosa and cruising down the coast. I've got a daughter now lives in Lennox Head and down to Lennox. And got a couple of mates over there, and I've been doing that for about 25 years. So, not every winter, but most times, and it's always good fun. Yeah.
So you got 2 kids?
Yeah, well, I've got 4 kids between us.
4 kids between, but I know both your kids that are brilliant surfers. So tell us a little bit about your daughter, because I've seen her surfing at Sandy Bay and she's pretty good. I've seen her on a stand-up paddleboard and she's damn good at that. So did you teach her?
No, Olivia is my stepdaughter, but she started in my business with me. But she's a really good surfer. She started. It's really strange because my youngest son Simon, he's surfed all his life. My oldest boy sort of had enough of surfing, but dragged around surf contests since he was about 4 years old. So by the time he was about 18, he took up yachting and diving. He did a gutsmill. But Simon's always been into surfing, and Olivia one day decided, when she would have been about 20, decided she wanted to learn to surf. So it's just the nature of the girl. She's really good at all sports. Within 6 months she was surfing, and was surfing very, very well. Yeah. And within a year she'd won contests on the shortboard, and then she decided she'd have a go at longboarding. Yeah. And won the longboard tour in New Zealand a few years ago now, 5, 6 years ago, and got to number 4 on the circuit. That's very good. And now she lives in Australia, and she still rides shortboard, longboard, doesn't worry her, but she got second in the New South Wales, Queensland longboard champs last year. And she's still, since she's lived in Australia, she's even got even better. Yeah. And my youngest son Simon, he's our top surf coach, and he's
brilliant. I've seen him on a longboard, mate, and he's right up there, to be honest. Now he's got an interesting life. He teaches surfing in New Zealand. So what's he doing in the off season?
Well, he goes to Holland of all places and coaches up there. And
he's done that for a while?
He's done that a few times. He used to work up there as a cook in a restaurant and that, chef. But I got into the surf coaching because Olivia and I started the business about 7 years ago, and he'd done a wee bit in Holland, and then he's got involved in the New Zealand operation, and now he goes up there. He's got plenty of contacts up there, and they up there on the North Sea, and they teach them to surf and ripples.
Have they got any good surfers up there? Or
it's quite good. Occasionally they get pretty good surf. But very seldom, and of course the water's cold. But like I say, they do surf lessons with 80 people, and all those Germans come down to the coast for their holidays. And he says, Dad, lucky we wouldn't even bother going out in it, but we still push these guys in on long boards, and they've stood up and they're surfing. So, but like I say, it's good money in the off season because it dries up over here. But so
Now you've run contests in Northland, Whangarei region for as long as I can remember, and I really take my hat off to you, because without someone like you, we wouldn't have had half the contests. So what made you do that? Just your love of surfing? Because you've been in there for the long haul, haven't you? And unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it started, I came back to Whangarei in 98, and they'd started up the North Coast Board Riders. It had only been going a year or so, but it sort of faded out again. The guys that were running it Roger Chris and that were getting a bit worn out from it.
Yeah.
And we sort of revitalised the club mainly because we went to the Nationals at New Plymouth and Roger Chris stood up at the general meeting of the Surfing Association, as it was in those days, all volunteers, and said Northern will host the Nationals, and we all looked at each other, whose idea was that? Roger's. So anyway, we came back and we had to get it all sussed out, so we did. And what we did was we started running contests much more often, so we got pretty tuned to it. We ran a polar bear surf contest for the first time. That really got us tuned into running a contest in the middle of winter, which was, you know,
And
nationals.
people would come for miles for that, because
Yeah,
the prizes were fantastic too.
But the first, and then we put the nationals on, and I was the contest director for that, and that was the first nationals where we had a cadets division, that was the under 12s, and the masters, which were over 30.
Yeah,
There was, before that, there was just the open.
one thing, yeah.
Open juniors, women's, knee boards. There was no longboard or anything like that, of course, in those days. Nobody longboarded. And we ran a very successful nationals. It went for a week. It was the biggest nationals that had ever been up to that time.
Yeah.
And we really went off. We were the first social function at the Forum North Hall.
Yeah.
And police closed it down at one stage, but realised it was all a mistake and carried on again.
Yeah.
And that's another funny story. The band was an outfit, the Amps from Auckland, and they were surfers, but it was the age of punk rock, and part of their act is the guy comes in and hacks up a surfboard on the stage with a machete, right? So everybody in Forum North's very frightened about this, because the noise lights are going up and down, and you know, if it goes over that light there, you've got to shut the whole place down, because this is the first time we've had a function, a social function in the hall. There was 400 odd people there.
And Forum North would have been reasonably new.
It was brand new, brand spanking.
Yeah.
It was, like I say, it was the first big. Anyway, the prize giving off goes off when the band starts up, and everything's going all right, and the lady that's running the Forum North is coming to me. Oh, the sound's getting a bit loud. You know, get them to keep it down, keep it down. Next minute, everything comes in. It's all shut down. The cops are there. Come on, we got this. What's happened? We caught a guy outside with a machete. No, it's all right. He's just part of the band. I'm trying to explain this.
So did they still have the machete act in the...
No, they decided they tried to break it up once. Anyway, it was a great night. It was a great nationals, and then after that, there became quite a strong circuit of around the country, and we were part of it. Northland Pro-Am, which was every anniversary weekend, and then even in those days, we were given, there was like $5,000 prize money, and it was, it was semi-pro. Some guys tried to go pro, but there was never enough to do it anyway.
And everyone seemed to get a prize, didn't they, in those days?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the guys that used to go on the circuit, they'd go, like there was New Plymouth, Gisborne, and they were all run by clubs in those days, whereas now it's not. It's run by Surfing New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the Surfing Association was Association of Clubs.
Yeah.
And so it was up to the club to how they ran it, as long as they stuck to the rules of the governing body, which was the Surfing Association. So I ended up looking after all the junior surfing as well for a couple of years, the under 18.
That's a big job, the scholastic stuff. And
Yeah. Well, see, it wasn't scholastic. They never had a scholastics as such, and that it was under 18, and it was sponsored by the Post Office Savings Bank.
Oh yeah.
And Moray, and they did a good job. Yeah. And so what they did regional contests around the country. We ran them all around the country.
Yeah.
And then end up in Raglan for a final of the under 18 surf champs.
Yeah.
So it was, that was good fun. We had some amazing trips, because the North Coast board riders, we got pretty slick at running contests. So I just grabbed all the boys, Roger Hall and Gary Orovich, and we'd all jump in a Hertz hire van and take off down to Raglan and run a contest. We even ran a couple of contests at P-Half because the Aucklanders were so disorganised they couldn't run.
It's amazing. I just take my hat off to you for all those stuff.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it was, if you're going off on another surf weekend to somewhere.
Well, you could go any beach in New Zealand and someone's probably going to know you because they run into you somewhere around the country.
What's funny, Laurie, is when some big guy comes up and you say, "Oh, I remember I was in a surf contest so and so." Yeah, what's your name? Oh, yeah, I remember the name, but you were that big.
Yeah. We find that as well. It is
crazy.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with. I go out for surf to Sandy Bay and I see you out there and your son and you're teaching these little kids and their mums how to surf and girls. I think it's just brilliant. So you must get a bit of satisfaction sometimes you probably hate doing it, but when you see them stand up and smile, it like, brings something
Yeah,
out
it's
of you
good fun,
inside.
mate. It's great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just come away from one today, and I had 3 people, a 42-year-old woman fit, and her niece, 18-year-old niece from Canada, and a French guy, 22,
Yeah.
real fit.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's a little bit of apprehension to start with, especially from the 2 girls from Canada, Ontario, right there.
Yeah.
Hardly ever see the sea. And once they get them up and riding on those big soft boards, like you say, it's just,
It's like turning a light on sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. And I don't know, but a lot of people say surfing is like, sort of like going to a shrink, but you're not. You go out and you forget about your worries and no hassles, and you have a good time and you feel good. Is that how you feel about it? Or?
Oh yeah, mate. Yeah, that's the only way. Especially a place like Sandy Bay, nobody can ring you or anything. You're out there and say, well, I'm just here for a good time. And that's what I just absolutely love about it. You're sitting out the back there, and even if you're not catching a wave, you're just sitting out there in the environment. And next wave's going to be the perfect wave.
Well, earlier we were talking, we were looking at some photos. Your first car, what sort of car did you have, Luke?
My first car was a cross between a Humber 10 and a Hillman Minx.
A cross.
Well, they was very similar.
Oh,
and it had been a write-off, and a mate of my
Awesome.
uncles had sort of built it up, so it had a Humber 80 motor in it.
Yeah.
Big wheels. It was this 1949 model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
you
was great.
did you go everywhere in
We had
that?
everywhere in it, mate.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd be at 6 up in it.
Yeah.
On Saturday nights, be 9 or 10 up.
So were you one of the guys that went into town on a Friday night and stood on the street and went to a party and then went to the surf the next day? But
Found out where the parties was. We were going down the
and the cops would move you on because
cops would patrol Cameron Street with the police dogs.
Yeah.
The kids wouldn't believe us. They'd come past the police.
Yeah. I sort of was thinking about the surfing thing the other day, and I know I got a bit of hassle because I was surfing, and people would say you're a surf bum and that, but about 45, 50 years later, those bloody surf bums, a lot of them, they're architects and
They've done very
businessmen
well,
in town, and they've all done bloody well, and I don't know why, but
That's right.
we're just kids growing up, but they've all done very well, haven't
Yeah,
they?
me think of that.
Yeah, it's just something that hit me. I think, yeah, they've all done very well. Yeah.
That's right. A lot of them didn't work for ages because they went surfing, or they go to Aussie for 3 months and
Yeah.
come back broke. But yeah, it was interesting. I went to the World Masters in Taranaki in 2002, was it? Somewhere around
So they had all the
2003.
divisions.
there. Yeah, right up to 65
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
And just like you're saying, there's the guys pulling up there in a big flash 4-wheel drive and somebody else in a BMW. Gee, that guy used to be a real useless bugger.
Yeah,
Because I used to see them on the circuit. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
They all get round in old Falcons. And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
many people. This is in the early 80s.
They're big on their surfing down there because the
Yeah.
beach is right there, and
Yeah.
they just had that Masters thing again. That
Yeah, they have it every year.
and see our local mayor won over 65. So Brownie.
Did he?
Yeah. So he had his photo in the paper the other day. So that's right.
Yeah, I used to get out to that all the time, but since the business, it makes it a bit hard. Being Easter.
Yeah.
But it certainly is a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'll have to go one year.
Oh, you
Yeah.
should go. We should have gone this year, mate.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a real blokes weekend away.
Yeah. So where have you surfed in Hawaii at all?
No,
or-
mate. No,
No.
I'm looking to go. Yeah, that's some of the things, you know, you look back and you go, wow, I should have done that. But
Yeah.
hey, I can still surf, so I'm going in August.
Yeah, well, it's good on you. Yeah.
You know, like I say, there's the iconic places that you.
Yeah. Have you been to America?
No,
neither have I. Yeah.
South America.
Yeah. Did you do surf in South America?
Yeah, I surfed in Brazil, but only briefly.
Yeah.
Went over there for swimming, but yeah.
Oh, you were at the
Went up
World's.
to the world's
Yep.
swimming champs there.
How'd you do in that?
I think I came 25th in the world for breaststroke
Brilliant.
in my age group.
You were there and you were trying. Yeah.
26th in the freestyle.
Yeah. So where did you surf? Just on.
Yeah, just at the
Main beach there?
Beamer corner there and down the beach.
Yeah. Because they get some mean surf there. What was it like when you were there? Not bad?
Yeah, we only went out when it was fairly small.
Yeah.
Well, it was all right. But we were there one day, the first day we got there, and it was coming off that point, but there's just so many guys in the water. They're crazy, these Brazilians.
Yeah.
There'd be guys on a big longboard and they'll take off from the span. It would have been double overhead.
Yeah.
And they come right through to the beach, and here in between there's boogie boarders and short boarders all
Yeah.
taking off round them.
Weaving their way through.
and they'd weave their way through, and every now and again they'd crash. But yeah.
Favourite surf beach, is it Sandy Bay or you like Shippies or, you know, we've got to ask
pretty
these
good.
things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. My favourite beach, yeah, Sandy Bay. If you look at it as a beach, my favourite break would have to be, yeah, the Shippies. I really like Money Bay, Raglan. I've had some fantastic waves there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But it gets very crowded there, but
Yeah,
it's
now-
like everywhere, it's
yeah.
getting more crowded.
yeah, I mean it's like Noosa. I mean, man, I've had a few waves at Noosa that are just incredible. But getting one to yourself,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whereas, yeah, you've got to get there early, haven't you? So.
That's right.
Well, you must have a funny story or something that stupid's happened down at surf. Anything that's...
You didn't ask me. I'll probably think of it. Yeah, the surf. What's funny that's happened at the surf?
No one got killed, no one's got cleaned up. Doesn't matter, we'll leave it that bit out.
Yeah, yeah. I'll think of something.
I can't even think what else to ask you. So.
I've seen a guy in Bali get a French guy that shouldn't have been out on the peak that we're on this little reef that we're on.
Did he get hammered or...?
And he got this board smashed and he had to get ashore, and they got him ashore, but of course the poor Balinese that had hired on the board, the board's expensive over there, $400 American.
Yeah.
So the French guy had to pay it. It was
So probably been on a surfboard once or twice, Eddie, and he was out in the
silly.
big breaks. Yeah,
It shouldn't have been there.
yeah,
And a lot of people said it, so there's quite a few guys there going, hey mate, you shouldn't be out here.
yeah. It's like
Probably
probably us.
guys floundering around like this, you know. I mean, I wasn't that young myself. I wasn't willing to, but I could just handle it. And he was.
Well, thanks, Mel. That's probably it.